Rejoice! The prophets have heard your cries of salvation for more long-form content, and they have mercifully delivered us a sequel to the Wednesday video that someone kind of asked for. It was definitely me that asked for this. And what's this sequel to this whole thing, you might ask? Well, brace yourselves, folks. We're taking a trip to a maid cafe. Yep, we're going there. This is a maid cafe, and I want to work at one for a day. So stop me if you heard that one before, because I'm serious. This is exactly what happened last year when I was gushing about Wednesday and making a video discuss of why I want to work on the show. However, there's more to this than meets the eye. When it comes to me and my hyperfixations, there's a passionate side of me that fuels my love and drive. I'm a passionate person through and through, after all. However, unlike my drive to break into the industry and possibly work on my favorite show, which my motivations have already been laid out through this YouTube video, maid cafes stand out to me for a different reason. I'm not in this to make it like a plan B or some backup career, though given the industry at the moment, that's debatable, I guess, but I'm not really too sure myself. The reason why I say that is that those maids in those maid cafes share something that I wanted since I started my career journey, my content creation journey, and possibly all throughout my own life. It's the sheer fact that the energy these maids put out there, they bring out that extroverted side that I need more in my lifetime. That's what I want, instead of hiding away through my introverted self many times. Yes, I know it sounds cliche, and there's an argument you can make about that, but at the same time, that couldn't be farther from the truth. So, unlike any other waitress or server, they actually get a chance to fully embrace a character and connect with people in a way that's playful, engaging, and uniquely interactive. I was made for that if you've been on my channel many times for my cosplay content, and given how they present themselves in that way, I need that too. This whole thing is now turning into a little side quest. Like, earlier this year, I mentioned this as like a huge bucket list material that I can go do on my own downtime, but the more I reflect on it and the more I think about it, honestly, it's a side quest that I must do to better myself. It's a little stepping stone to improve my life and to finally break out of that introverted shell. But before we dive into more of that, what exactly is a maid cafe in the first place? Alright, full disclosure here, I've never been to a maid cafe before. Not even once. The information I can give on this topic is what I've been following on social media and YouTube videos, which there aren't that many to go by. And through my For You pages on TikTok and Instagram, those are even sparse as well. I'm going into this with very little intel, so please bear with me here. This is not like when I discussed Wednesday. So this will be much harder, but I will do my best. In Tokyo, there's a district called Akihabara, and in Akihabara, maid cafes have become quite iconic and a staple in the district. If you've been around the area before or are just learning about this now, you might have seen some popular names pop up like At Home Cafe and Maid Dreamland. These cafes are some of the most well-known in the area, each offering their own unique spin on the whole maid cafe experience. Now, I could list the differences here, but we could be all day here discussing this. But even though they act differently, they serve quite a similar purpose. And it's these cafes that set the standard for what many people imagine when they think of maid cafes. In fact, this whole thing is a popular subgenre of the concept of concept cafes. To better explain that, well, have you guys seen Bar Rescue? You know, the one show with John Taffer being the Gordon Ramsay of bars? There was this one episode that he tried to rescue a bar that everyone acted like a pirate. Or maybe you're not into bars or John Taffer. You've probably seen cat cafes where you witness the joy of cats just playing around. Some people even adopting them. Yeah, that's basically the dumbed down explanation of how I would explain what a concept cafe is. Basically, this whole themed restaurant where the overall experience is revolving around a specific concept. Hey, it's even in the name too, but it just so happens that instead of cats or even pirates, it's this. Oh, and if maids aren't your thing, there's also butler cafes. So if you're the opposite gender, then there you go. But beyond that though, what makes some of these cafes even more unique is not just the cafe itself, it's the maids and the whole culture going around it. Some maids have their own lore or backstories, and it's not all about serving food 9 times out of 10. Some actually do moonlight as idols, and some cafes actually do songs and performances. I'm not kidding about the whole releasing songs thing. At Home did that many times. Heck, it certainly beats out KSI's own song by a hefty margin. Yep, I said it. Maids beat out KSI. Come at me, bro. Call it cringe, call it weeaboo weirdness, but there's a charm that goes into these places. It's all about giving the positive energy, and when you come back again, that energy sort of like radiates to something even more. That's why these places have stayed open for quite some time. It's connections you make, the personal experiences, the radiant energy from those maids that are quite extroverted in nature, just to appease the introverted people. And heck, you see this a lot with customers and their oshis. What is an oshi, you might ask? Well, think up of a band, like a boy band, a K-pop band, whatever. Just think of a band right up this moment and pick your favorite person in that group. That is your oshi, so to say. Or if you're me that likes to game a lot, let's bring up the agents from Valorant. Yeah, I know, Valorant is out there, but with the amount of agents that this game has to offer and their own styles and unique mechanics, honestly, if we're discussing oshis and defining it, this is probably the best example I can give at the moment. You know how you always gravitate to one specific agent after a few games? Maybe you like Jet or my personal main, Clove? That's how it works with these maid cafes. An oshi is the maid you feel the most connected to, whether it's their personality, energy, or how they interact with you. And you can actually get photos with your oshis called shekis, which are essentially Polaroids, but they decorate it for you. It's the small things that make people want to go back, and the maids and their energy doing these types of things alongside everything else is honestly amazing. So why can't we have it here in the United States of America? Well, funny story about this. Earlier this year, like the very start of this year, I was browsing TikTok, and I managed to catch a live stream of this one cafe in particular, Asayoru Maid Cafe. And it's one of the first maid cafes in America based in LA, like the first permanent maid cafe in LA. Oh yes, we're going into Hollywood itself. There is also another LA permanent maid cafe that opened over there called Arcane, which, not to be confused with the Arcane show, but it would be hilarious if Riot made an arcade collab. Wink wink, nudge nudge. No, but seriously, that would be cool. However, despite all that, Asayoru in its few years have made great strides and is becoming really successful. And honestly, I've been eyeing that cafe for quite a while actually. This summer, they collaborated with Cygames to bring the Oinky Doinky Cafe from Akiba Maid War to life for just 1 month in Little Tokyo. They've done performances with idols and VTubers at Akiba Live at the exact same place. They have also announced an expansion because of their growing influence, and not to mention, they collaborated with At Home Cafe. Yes, the At Home Cafe from Japan that I discussed moments ago. Also like At Home, they too made a song, twice in fact, which yet again made beat out KSI. And now with this offshoot idol group that Asayoru is doing called Moe Age, the math on this just keeps getting both better and more hilariously true every passing day. Damn, getting roasted by maids. Now that is something that's worth discussing for the ages. Where are we again? Oh yeah, Asayoru. It's fantastic. But what if you're unlucky enough to not be in LA? Well, if you live on the East Coast like yours truly, there have been others that been popping up, and since I'm close by to New York City, well, there's a lot that's on my radar. Milk Pink being one, and I think there's another called Heavenly Maid Cafe, and recently, Machi Mahu, which debuted in Anime MIC. I guess you could say that the demographic is there and the push to include them at conventions speaks a lot. While they are quite local and a more reasonable option for me at the moment, there's a downside to them, and well, that's because they are pop-ups at the end of the day. They are pop-up events, and unlike the permanent places like Asayoru and Arcane, once the conventions are done, that's it. Anime NYC, New York Comic Con, which Milk Pink was a part of it, Castle Point Anime, and so on and so forth. Sure, it's not like the permitted places, I get that. Akihabara or LA, that doesn't matter. But for just a short amount of time, you can experience the joy of wondering what a maid cafe looks like, and some of these places do a pretty good job at it. And honestly, you'll get the same experience no matter where you're at in the world, so that's my 10 cents, I guess. And sure, with established names like these in the pop-up maid cafe scene, at least they will come back, but let's be honest here, we're getting into the whole culture clash territory. Like, we have to discuss this. Japan and Western cultures have a pretty different view on what's considered acceptable, and sometimes they're complete polar opposites. Heck, I've been a person that played arcade rhythm games from the Bonami series like Sound Voltex, and I know what I'm talking about here. It's like console Valorant and PC Valorant, they're both the same game, but different controls, different like patch notes, everything else, it just feels different. So it's not hard to explain why this maid cafe concept isn't all around in America, and why there are more pop-ups than permanents alone. Sure, Little Tokyo and LA was one factor that gained a slight advantage because of Asayoru and Arcane, but that still is beside the point. I know it's hard to run a place permanently. Someone tried this in New York City, and judging from the Google results, they've closed down, and it's been like a while ago, like we're talking decades, and Asayoru could suffer this exact same fate. And judging from what they have done this year alone, it seems like they are here to stay for the long run. I have faith that if a New York City one were to try again, it would probably get more results. Honestly, I would love an Asayoru New York City branch, but competition is a good thing here. But even with the American maid cafe scene, I've noticed a trend here, and it's coming down to a science. Extroverted, 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 extroverted. These maid cafes are extroverted in nature. And you probably hear me say that word a lot, which leads into me. Yet another quote-unquote master who, like many others in these cafes, are quite introverted. Even an application I got after prizing one of these pop-up cafes, they have being camera happy and being out there as one of the requirements, which, yes, I am happy on camera and all that, but given the personality that I have, I'm quite introverted in a lot of ways more than one, possibly for my own good. So why am I even focused on them? And why is it that I paint the question of having to cure my own introverted nature? To put it bluntly, yes, the title of the video is actually more than it needs to be said. I do want to work at one. And no, unlike Wednesday where I have the talent and drive but constantly have to advocate because, well, autism acceptance is not really widespread yet, this stint is honestly what I need for my own personal journey. With the world being favored towards extroverted people, having this opportunity as a stepping stone for me would be beneficial in the long run. There are some of us who are autistic that can be quite introverted for our own good, and we have to advocate for ourselves. So learning these bits of extroverted tendencies can get us out there. And now that I think about it, what I just said at the first minute was a lie. Yeah, get ready for a Metal Gear Solid twist of a lifetime, because we're dealing with a lot of reflections to self, the industry that I'm going into, talking about Wednesday yet again, because apparently I can't shut up about it, and oh boy, some other stuff, so time to sit down, because we're just scratching the surface here. So, why maid cafes? Why am I so hell-bent on just working there for more than a day or a day at worst? Why am I drawn to that specific part of Japanese culture? And what even is the thrill that I seek? This is not like my career path into the entertainment industry. This is just for me and my personal growth. Like, what is up with that? Well, to answer that, I've done a lot of reflections before making this video, which took up a lot of time. But let's begin with something that's completely obvious. They're not just places where they serve food or play a role. They actually serve a purpose, and that is to build a community of otakus. And even if it's not otaku culture, it's community in general. In fact, this is actually applied to it once you consider the maids working there. Take for instance some of the maids at Maid Dreamland, and even some in Asayoru, for example, over here. You know how I said that maids sometimes have a little lore or backstory? Well, some of their lores and backstories do reflect upon their real-life interests, like cosplaying or gaming. Like, for example, at Maid Dreamland, you might meet a maid who's a dedicated anime cosplayer, while at Asayoru, you might have a gamer maid like Maid Naya, for example, that's her right there, who loves to game and talk about games a lot. Heck, even some of the pop-up cafes all across the East Coast where I'm at, you do experience those same interests and connections. So, there's where it gets personal for me. For me, what makes maid cafes truly special is how they embody a sense of connection to like what you're interested in and having a relationship based off of that. Those maids are not just there to serve. They represent a diverse group of individuals who embrace their own unique personalities that you might have or you might want. And the sense of relatability is what really makes this strong. It's what makes all these things quite special. That human connection. And for the past few years, I've regressed sociably, and seeing how these types of cafes build these sort of connections really piqued my interest in the first place. For me, I wasn't always this introverted. Like, in college, I went to anime conventions, that's where I started cosplaying in the first place, joined clubs, and I even joined a sorority because of my non-binary identity. Then COVID hit, and other personal stuff got in the way, and now everything that used to be my lifeline is just gone. It's just boring adult life. After that, I sort of regressed sociably. I lost some of that spark, and sure, I kept busy, made new connections along the way, made new faces in the Wednesday fandom, the cosplay side of things, so on and so forth. If I'm gonna be honest, despite having this amazing outlet, I still miss that face-to-face human connection. And when I started exploring these maid cafes ever since that TikTok live earlier this year, something just clicked. It's this blend of authenticity and role-playing that you do in cosplays that feels welcoming to me. It honestly feels welcoming to everyone. It's a space where being quirky, nerdy, and yourself, that's the most important part, being yourself, is celebrated. And that's something that I want to be a part of, as a nerd, as a cosplayer, and overall, that's just who I am. And it's not just embracing the fun of it all, there's also this deeper idea about stepping out of my comfort zone. Like, when I wear my cosplays and all that, at least I have a chance to be myself in a manner that I couldn't before. And if you've been watching my channel, you notice that I cosplay a lot on there, and honestly, I love that a lot. I don't want to stay quiet anymore. I want to be able to shed that part of myself that holds me back. And I think working at a maid cafe for more than a day, or a day at best, is the perfect way to do that. Just to break out of my introverted shell and just be out there with the world. Just letting go of my introverted side and just having that meaningful impact to make people happy in their presence. I want to do this online and in person just to make people smile. Doesn't matter if they're on the screen or not. Yes, it might seem silly, but honestly, the more that I think about this bucket list item, it's more about personal growth at the end of the day. And sure, it's still on my bucket list, don't get me wrong, but it's finding a place in the world, a place where connecting in a way that's meaningful to myself and others goes a long way. Like, working at a maid cafe means learning how to interact with people confidently. It helps my social skills, and even if it means singing and dancing, I mean, I could try to sing Love Live or do a dance routine, but let's be honest here, I don't know the moves, but I'm willing to learn. Like, I only know the Cupid Shuffle and the Cha-Cha Slide, so take of that what you will. So if I were to apply to a maid cafe that's really local to me, the only moves I can bust are quite them, which would be putting my application at the bottom, but at least I got spirit. Side note as well, I don't sing. So don't expect me to sing some like J-pop song or whatever. But at least it'll sound more fire than whatever mixtape KSI puts out in the market. And if I'm a maid, well, the equations do speak for themselves here. Heck, even a mixtape with actual sounds from a fire is more fire than KSI. But maids do a better job here, and it's just an insult to them if I compare it to fire, so let's just drop this and be done with it. To take away from all this, the element here that I'm trying to present to you is human connection. But even then, I think that it will either backfire with what I'm doing or may not work out at the end, which, again, yes, that face-to-face and real-time connection is something I said I crave a lot. I know it is wishful thinking at the end of the day if it was simple, but the world is not simple, and it's because of this entire idea of masking ourselves to fit the norm. Some of the quirks that you might have from your inner introverted self, for instance, are what make you, you. And masking that doesn't make you genuine or a relatable figure people look up to, which, while it may go against the role-playing atmosphere, it certainly goes against the entire community aspect that these maid cafes bring to the table. Sure, us artistics do a little masking here and there, but masking is still masking at the end of the day, which doesn't bring us out to who we are. However, I argue that in order for us to break away from that mask, we have to step out of our comfort zone and advocate for ourselves, which with me and Wednesday, I want to show Hollywood and society in general that we are human like the rest of them and that labels don't take away the talent that we bring to the table. So how does that translate to a maid cafe? Then you got other stuff too that I have to ask myself, like, okay, sure, that's my personal goals and dreams, but I bring up Asayoru a lot. Like, why? Why is this one location in particular? Sure, there are others in your area, but what makes Asayoru stand out to me? What makes this the big thing that I want to be a part of? Stop me if you heard this one before. I did the same exact thing to Wednesday, making an entire video discussing why the Wednesday show is good and I want to be a part of it. Why am I going to be repeating the same exact thing to this? Honestly, I could go for Milk Pink, Heavenly Maid Cafe, or even Machi Mahu, especially since they're closer to me, but Asayoru has something that screams to me. Maybe it's the established nature of the community, maybe it's the vibe that each maid brings to the table, maybe it's their own spin on things, maybe it's their idol group. I don't know why, but maybe that is, but I know there's a lot going on there, but it's all about finding a sense of belonging and, at the same time, challenging myself. And okay, maybe this is just me being narrow-minded. I've been there before, just like with my whole Wednesday Season 2 dream. I learned that the narrow path can lead to disappointment and heartbreak. I've always been told to start small, work on these short films and go on from there, which I've been doing, so I do have no problem in saying that I could build my skills from a small group and all that, but at the end of the day, a maid cafe is still technically a maid cafe. Maybe starting somewhere small is better than not starting at all, and who says after I clear that thing in my bucket list I can't do it more? Maybe I can go back to there again and just do it again. But then comes the million-dollar question here, which honestly I didn't want to ask myself, but this is probably the toughest question of them all. What should I do? Like, what are my options of making this happen? How do I get them on my radar? Like, what are my options here? And that is the complex part. I don't know. Like, I have no clue. You know, back when I was discussing the Wednesday show, I did connect with a lot of people on the show, cast and crew-wise, but with maid cafes and the maids, the question sort of becomes different. Like, how do you connect with them? Because unlike the cast and crew members from projects that are willing to help you out, especially if you're a newcomer, maids from maid cafes are often targets of creeps and unwanted advances. And I heard the horror stories, and I generally do feel bad for those that had to put up with such things. I'm not taking this lightly. We are all people at the end of the day, regardless of who we are or what level of fame we have. We are human. It's essentially like my message early last year about the Wednesday cast going to conventions in Europe and how we shouldn't put them on the spot with these types of things, especially with people shipping real-life actors in real life. Asayoru is quite a distance from me,
and that place seems to call to me the most given everything I said about them. However, with Machi Mahu and others that are close by in my area, with pop-up events and similar vibes, I am quite torn on this. Like, should I establish my path of looking at pop-ups and build my career up using my vast network that I have so far that's local to me? Or should I desperately chase one as a plan B in a different city with a permanent location, but I only know a few people on my side of the industry? These are real-life career questions I have to ask myself when I was making this video, and the entertainment industry is still haven't fully recovered yet, so yeah, it sucks. So what can I do at this moment as a call to action? Or what can we do about this? Since this is becoming widespread, what can we do to make this happen for everyone involved? For me, for the fans out there, and just for the whole community aspect that I just told you about many times. We could voice our support and try to let them hear my case, but considering the vocal nature of creeps in these types of places, I'm not sure how realistic it is to expect them to respond positively. At the same time though, this might be the only way for them to notice me. I can continue to research and learn more, and I'll even throw in some more shorts about the culture. And heck, even in pop-up events, I could arrive there as a guest, but without the experience of bringing joy to someone else's day, we are just delaying a bucket list item that I genuinely want to fulfill. People love to see their favorite creators grow and develop, and I don't want to let you guys down. Thanks to the mythical nature of the internet, you can buy merch from these cafes online and have it shipped to you, so that way you can support them on their journey. I did this with Asayuru's Halloween checkies, which was showcased on their official Instagram on their stories, and currently they're still being shipped across the nation. And this is one of the many ways you could support them, especially for those familiar with the Maid Cafe scene. However, beyond buying merch, being vocal, creating content, and showing genuine interest can go a long way. In my honest opinion, the most impactful action at the moment is voicing support for both their cause and mine. I told you all about what they are, why it appeals to me, and honestly, this bucket list item ain't going away. However, that still begs the question here. We can buy, we can tag them on Instagram, but is that a call to action they will welcome? Honestly, I believe so. I received an email from one of the cafes expressing how happy and inspired they are with my passion. In fact, I even told them about this entire video in the first place, so there is a possibility of this happening and a demand for it. So if you have an Instagram, find these maid cafes, they are pretty active. Follow them, share their content on your stories, and engage with it. And if you still think you want me to be a part of this, tag my account in their post and spread my message and my story. Don't just tag me and be done. Tag me and share why you think this journey matters and why you believe I will be a great addition to their team. Heck, show them this video, show them my advocacy stuff, show them that the community aspect that they promote is really awesome and what we need as a society. I know this is a big order that I'm making, but honestly, this is for me to better myself, and everything goes a long way. I hope you enjoyed this video. It was fun learning something new, even if it means pushing to the limit and changing for the better. If I'm gonna be a maid, well, at least I serve y'all masters well by cooking up this video for you. So, thank you all for watching. Have a happy day out there. Tell the maids I said hi. Give Asayoru my moi moi kun magic. And I'll see you next time. And if I'm in a cafe, well, I hope to see you there. And don't forget, maids beat out KSI. Still have to make that known in the world. Good night.